صلى الله عليه ويا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولأضلنهم ولأمنينهم ولآمرنهم فليبتكن آذان الأنعام ولآمرنهم فليغيرن خلق الله. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. In our era, cosmetic surgeries have become very widespread and popular. It's sometimes very rare to find a family that does not have a member who has undergone some form of cosmetic surgery or has gone under some cosmetic procedure. These surgeries have become very accessible in almost every part of the world. It doesn't require much traveling, and the prices are quite reasonable. Nothing very expensive. Also, some cosmetic procedures can be expensive, and they fulfill a need amongst people who care about their appearance and their beauty. For example, some individuals have burns, or they have scars, or they were born with birthmarks, or they feel that something has to be changed because of their weight, or the nose, or the eyes, or some part of the body needs a cosmetic procedure, a cosmetic surgery, and so they undergo these cosmetic surgeries. So it fills a need. Some people are in need of cosmetic procedures. These procedures have come to fulfill a need. Cosmetic surgeries are a multi-billion-dollar industry. Doctors who specialize in cosmetic surgery, they make millions of dollars. They make more than regular doctors. As of 2023, approximately 24% of Americans reported having undergone at least one cosmetic procedure. 24%. That's almost one-fifth, or a quarter of the US population as of 2023. Among individuals earning $150,000 annually, the percentage who had cosmetic procedures rises up to 40%. So there's a correlation between higher income levels and the likelihood of undergoing cosmetic procedures. There's some form of relationship. The more you're well off economically, the higher the chance that you will get a cosmetic procedure. Younger adults show a higher propensity for cosmetic enhancements. 26% of individuals aged 30 to 44 expressed willingness to invest between $10,000 and $100,000 in cosmetic procedures. They don't mind. From youth aged 30 to 44. 26% of them were willing to spend anywhere from 10% to $10,000 to $100,000 on cosmetic procedures. Platforms like Instagram and TikTok have significantly impacted the cosmetic surgery landscape. A lot of people have been affected by social media influencers, bloggers, YouTube bloggers, influencers on TikTok and Instagram, and have been influenced in undergoing cosmetic surgery. Approximately 41% of adults aged 18 to 29 reported learning about cosmetic surgeries and procedures through social media. Now, what are some of the sought-out cosmetic procedures? In 2023, just 2 years ago, the most sought-after cosmetic surgeries in the United States of America included liposuction, number one. Approximately 347,782 procedures were performed in 2023, liposuction. Number two, abdominoplasty, also known as a tummy tuck. This was also a very popular procedure here in the US, and eyelid surgery. In the year 2023, Botox procedures reached nearly 9.5 million. 9.5 million Botox procedures here in the United States of America in 2023. Acid fillers surpassed 5.2 million procedures in 2023. Now, the problem with cosmetic procedures and cosmetic surgery is that sometimes they can be addictive. They can be addictive. What do I mean by this? So there's an individual, he or she will say, you know what, let me, put this wrinkle enhancement, no more wrinkles on the forehead, or they call it the Botox. After that, well, how about my nose? A little bit of enhancing for my nose. And then my cheeks, a little bit on my cheeks. And then after 5 years, it's a different person. Even the husband doesn't recognize his wife. Completely different person. Completely different person from what she had started. So it's very addictive. Those who do one procedure, most likely they will go for a second, third, fourth, and there's no limit. Unfortunately, we see that more and more people are becoming unsatisfied with their looks, with their nose, with their cheeks, or with their body, or with their waist, for example. Unsatisfied with their looks. Previously, people couldn't do anything about it. Now they can. Now all it takes is a surgery, a procedure, and they can fix the way they look. Although this is natural, it is natural to care for the way you look. It is natural. It is natural to look in the mirror, and beautification is part of Islam. At-tazayyun, az-zina. It is recommended for a wife to dress up for her husband. It is recommended for the husband to look good for his wife. This is something necessary. It's good to look presentable and to look beautiful. But worrying and caring for our outer appearance, that's fine. But what about our akhlaq? What about our akhlaq? Our akhlaq also requires enhancements. I wish that as much as we'd work on our outer appearance, we would also emphasize on our inner beauty and our akhlaq. The same way we improve our looks, we improve our akhlaq. Cosmetic procedures come in various forms. They include, but not limited to, Botox injections, wrinkle removal, lip enhancement, nose reduction, liposuction, hair and beard transplant, There are a lot of brothers who, for example, they were bald, but they could get hair transplants, beard transplants. Even a beard, those who cannot grow a full beard, they can get a beard transplant. Gastric surgery for slimming. Tonight, my dear brothers and sisters, in the limited minutes that we have, we would like to investigate into the following. Number one, the permissibility of cosmetic procedures. Are they halal or are they haram? In and of themselves, these cosmetic procedures, in and of themselves, are they permissible in Islam or is it haram? Are you allowed to change your looks or this is not permissible? This is number one. Number two, a lot of these procedures, especially if they are done by a doctor from the opposite gender, then they require looking. The opposite gender, if, for example, a female patient goes to a male doctor, then he has to look at places where he is not supposed to look. And of course, it involves touching as well. So these are prerequisites to such procedures. Would it then be halal or haram? Or a male patient who refers to a female doctor. Number three, their impact on our ibadah. Do some of these cosmetic procedures like implants or procedures on the face, facial enhancement, do they affect our wudu? Do they affect our ghusl? This is something that we should also discuss. Also, doctors who specialize in cosmetic surgery. We have Muslim doctors now that specialize in cosmetic surgery. Now, when a doctor sees a patient, for example, he sees a patient from the opposite gender, if they're in a need, in a dire need, it's a necessity or an emergency, it becomes halal. But cosmetic surgeries, it's not an emergency. It's not a necessity. So what legal grounds, fiqhi grounds are there for a doctor, a Muslim doctor, to see and touch a member of the opposite gender when there's no necessity and there's no emergency? I have researched this topic, the topic of cosmetic surgeries in Islamic fiqh, in my class on medical laws in Islam at the Islamic Seminary of Karbala, and there will be this subject in addition to several other subjects on medical laws in Islam. They will be published, inshallah, in a book in Arabic. Today, my dear brothers and sisters, I would only like to present a very brief summary of the research that I did on cosmetic surgery in Islamic law. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. There are some who argue that cosmetic surgeries should be banned, should be considered unlawful in Islam. All types of cosmetic surgery should be considered haram. Why? For the following arguments. Number one, it is considered changing God's creation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created you in a certain way. You come and you change your nose, or liposuction, or your waist, or you, for example, you have hair transplants, or this, that. You are changing God's creation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you this body. He created you in a specific way. You come and you change God's creation. This is not allowed. Why? They reference the following verse. Chapter 4, verse 119. وَلَأُضِلَّنَّهُمْ وَلَأُمَنِّيَنَّهُمْ. This is what Shaitan says. Allah quotes Shaitan in the Quran. وَلَأُضِلَّنَّهُمْ وَلَأُمَنِّيَنَّهُمْ وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلْيُبَتِّكُنَّ آذَانَ الْأَنْعَامِ وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلْيُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ. And I shall mislead them. Shaitan is saying this. And I shall arouse them in false desires. And I shall command them. And they will slit the ears of cattle. And I shall command them. And they will alter Allah's creation. So some say that cosmetic surgeries, they alter God's creation. God created you in this way. You come and you undergo cosmetic surgeries, you are altering God's creation. And this is what shaitan is ordering. See, وَلَا أَمْرَنَّهُ, I will order them to alter God's creation. And when shaitan orders something, does he order that which is mustahab or wajib? No, he orders that which is haram. And hence anything ordered by shaitan must be haram. Now, there's a response to this argument. Those who argue that cosmetic surgeries are haram based upon this verse, we have an answer. Number one, it is very difficult to claim that changing any of God's creation is haram. And I'll give you lots of examples. Are you allowed to go to a barber and cut your hair? Of course. Of course. No one says that it's haram, but you're changing God's creation. Are you allowed to trim your beard? Of course. Although it's considered altering God's creation. Are you allowed to cut down trees to build homes, to use those trees for wood to build homes? Of course. Are you allowed to break down mountains and build tunnels? Of course. This is all altering God's creation. التغيير في خلق الله. But no one said this is haram. Going to a barber, trimming your beard, breaking down mountains to open tunnels, or breaking down trees for wood to make homes, none of this is haram. No one says this is haram. This is number one. Number two, not everything that shaitan orders is necessarily haram. Could be what? Makruh. It could be discouraged. Not necessarily haram. This is two. Number three, and this is the main argument. Who said that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلْيُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ, and I shall order them to alter God's creation, it means God's physical creation, material creation. No. Who said this is God's material creation? It could be something, it could be a different sort of creation, and that is fitrah. The fitrah that every human being was born upon, in believing in Tawheed, accepting Tawheed, shaitan says, I will change that. Every human being is born upon fitrah. The idea, the innate nature of believing in God and accepting one God. Shaitan says, I will change this. I will make sure that human beings, they change their fitrah. So is there any proof to support this argument? Yes. Allah says, فَأَقِمْ وَجْهَكَ لِلْدِينِ حَنِيفًا فِطْرَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي فَطَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا لَا تَبْدِيلَ لِخَلْقِ اللَّهِ. You see, fitrah and khalq Allah are used here interchangeably. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created all human beings on fitrah. فطرة الله التي فطر الناس عليها, and then لا تبديل لخلق الله. You cannot change God's creation, meaning you cannot change people's fitrah. A person who's born innate to accept the oneness of Allah and Allah's existence, you cannot change this. And hence خلق الله here means fitrah. وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلْيُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ, I will order them to alter God's creation, means what? To change people's fitrah. this fine? Can everyone hear me? Another salawat, please. A fourth argument is that, a fourth reply to this argument that cosmetic procedures mean altering God's creation. Who said? Who said? Someone changes their nose a bit, enhances their nose. This is altering God's creation. Growing a little bit of hair on your head. This is altering God's creation. No, this is not تغيير في خلق الله. طيب. This is all in the first argument that cosmetic procedures should be haram, and we proved that this argument, this proof of evidence, is not valid. Number two, the second argument says that most, if not all, cosmetic procedures, they involve impermissible gaze and touch. A woman, Muslim woman, has to go to a male doctor for a cosmetic surgery, whether it's on her face, her head, or any other part of her body, and that non-mahram doctor will gaze at her. He will look at her body. This is one. And two, he will touch as well. And both acts are impermissible. Both acts are not permissible, and hence cosmetic surgeries should be considered haram. There's a response to this argument as well. The response, number one, is that this argument does not show that cosmetic surgeries in of themselves are haram. Rather, the prerequisites to the procedures are haram, not the procedure itself. The procedure itself could be halal, but because the procedure requires gazing and touching, the problem is with gazing and touching. In of themselves, this piece of evidence does not prove that they are haram. This is number one. Number two, a female may refer to a female doctor. A male patient may refer to a male doctor, and the problem is solved. Number three, if a female refers to a male doctor, also they can stipulate a marriage contract. There could be a marriage, a temporary marriage contract. Of course, pending that the doctor is a Muslim. Both sides are Muslim. There could be a temporary marriage contract, just enough for the cosmetic procedure. That will also solve a problem. Number four, indirect touch and gaze is permissible. The doctor could be wearing gloves as long as the touch is indirect and it's not skin on skin. Or through gazing, they may use a mirror, through a mirror, or through a computer, and it's not direct gazing at the body. This is also permissible. And finally, even if none of this is taken, there's no marriage contract, a female goes to a male, and there is direct touch or direct gaze. Here, Sayed Sistani says that if the cosmetic surgery is, if not performing the cosmetic surgery entails difficulty and hardship, then a person may undergo this cosmetic surgery. Let me give you an example. For example, if someone is suffering from burns or scars, a female, she's suffering from burns and scars on her hand, on her knee, and it's causing her difficulty, it's causing her harm, it's causing her severe hardship because she can't get married, for example, or she fears getting married. Or this person, for example, is obese, they're very overweight, and they cannot get married, for example. It's causing them extreme difficulty and hardship. Here, they may even see a female may see a male doctor based upon this principle called no harm or no difficulty. La darara wa la darar, and la haraj. La haraj, there's no difficulty in Islam. Ma ja'ala alaykum fi ad-dini min haraj. There's no difficulty in Islam. طيب. A third argument for the impermissibility of cosmetic procedures is that some of them cause harm. You're causing yourself unnecessary harm by exposing yourself to cosmetic surgery or cosmetic procedures. For example, the tummy tuck, or any type of surgery that can cause you harm. This is not permissible, because in Islam you are not allowed to harm yourself. You are not allowed to put yourself in harm's way, and hence cosmetic surgeries become haram. Also, there's a response to this argument. First of all, not all cosmetic surgeries entail harm. There are a lot of unharmful cosmetic surgeries that absolutely have no harm. This is one. Two, harm and harming yourself is not allowed in Islam if it's unjustified. Unjustified harm is not allowed in Islam. But if it's justified, and if there's logic to it, if there's a corresponding benefit to it, it's allowed. And let me give you an example. It's like a person who undergoes a bypass surgery. A bypass surgery, cardiac surgery. This person is allowing harm to take place. Why? Because they're breaking his rib cage and they're taking out his heart. And it's very harmful, very damaging, very painful. But at the same time, there's a corresponding benefit. There's a greater benefit. And that is, this person will live for many years. This person will live. If he does not undergo this bypass surgery, he will die. He has to change the veins, the arteries in his heart. So not all harm is forbidden. Unjustifiable harm, performing unjustifiable harm to yourself, that is forbidden. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Now let's come to some specific type of surgeries. After we've discussed the general ruling on cosmetic surgeries and their permissibility or impermissibility, let's discuss some specific types of cosmetic procedures and surgeries. Facial cosmetic surgeries. There are some that perform cosmetic facial procedures like nose enhancement, Botox, teeth, the Hollywood smile, right? These are very common now. A lot of people are undergoing these cosmetic surgeries. They're very widespread and popular. The issue is, if a man goes to a man, this is not a problem. A male patient going to a male doctor, there's no problem in this. A female patient going to a female doctor, there's no problem in this. The problem is when a female patient goes to a male doctor. How is this permissible? Why? Because it requires gazing and looking. He will be gazing at her face. This is a facial procedure. And he will be touching. So how is this permissible? Well, first of all, looking at a female's face, this is the counter argument. Looking at a female's face without lust is permissible in Islam. It's permissible. And a woman, according to Sayed Sistani, unlike Sayed Al-Khoi required women to cover their faces. This was the fatwa of the Sayed Al-Khoi. Sayed Al-Khoi passed away in 1992. Our young sisters, they're lucky that they were not alive when Sayed Al-Khoi was the top marja. Otherwise, our sisters would all have to cover their face. For Sayyid Sistani's followers, you don't have to cover your face. And he bases his ruling upon the Quran. وَلَا يُبْدِينَ زِينَتَهُنَّ إِلَّا مَا ظَهَرَ مِنْهَا. The Quran says women may not show their beauty lest what is already showing. The hadith say lest what is showing is what? The face and the hands. That's it. The face and the hands. A woman may expose her face and hands to non-mahram men. Other than that, no. طيب. Touching, yes, we fixed the problem of gazing, but what about touching? Touching is not permissible. To touch a woman's face a male doctor touching a female patient's face is not permissible. Yes, unless it's indirect, using gloves, or again, it involves severe hardship where the female patient cannot handle. And again, we have قاعدة لا حرج. If she falls in severe hardship and difficulty, here she may undergo this procedure, even if it entails direct touch. This is concerning procedures that are for example, burns or scars. But if the procedure is for beautification and it's in the face, for example, permanent makeup or facial tattoos, then these sort of procedures, it is not permissible for a female patient to go to a male doctor. Why? Because this is for beautification. He will be beautifying her face. Once there is beauty on her face, beautification and zina, he is not allowed to look at her face. This is not necessity anymore. This is not an emergency. There's no great harm or great difficulty in not undergoing a facial procedure that involves beautification. Type. Hair transplants. This has become something very widespread, and a lot of brothers travel to Turkey. Turkey is a popular destination for hair transplants and beard transplants. This medical procedure involves transferring hair follicles from one part of the body to another. So they take from this gentleman's body, maybe from one side of his hair, from the back, follicles, and they transplant it on the top of his head, for example, for the brothers who are bald. Now, is this allowed? Is this not allowed? Again, there are arguments that hair transplants are not allowed. Why? Number one, there's a hadith by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa sallam. He states, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. He states, لَعَنَ اللَّهُ الْوَاصِلَ وَالْمُسْتَوْصِلَ. God curses the hair connector and the one who requests it. This is in Mustadrak al-Wasail, volume 14, page 293. So previously, during the time of Rasulullah, some females, they would go to this hair salon, so to speak, and they would connect their hair to another woman's hair. So basically extensions. So on the night of her wedding, when she gets married, the husband thinks that her hair is very long, and that it's not her hair, it's someone else's hair. So she's fooling her husband. Here, Rasulullah says, لَعَنَ اللَّهُ الْوَاصِلَ وَالْمُسْتَوْصِلَ. This hadith obviously does not apply to our case. It does not apply to the case of hair transplants. It's not connecting hair, someone else's hair, to your own hair. This is one. Two, the hadith is weak in itself. The chain of narrators is weak and it is unreliable. And it's referring to deception. Anyone who tries to use deception with their hair, to use someone else's hair, or to use extensions and pretend that it's their own hair. Not at female gatherings, no. In the case of weddings, in the case of marriage. So a man marries a woman with the idea that she has long hair, and then all of a sudden he discovers that it's extensions. Big surprise. This is what the hadith is referring to. Deception. Deception and wearing extensions. Another argument against hair transplant is that it requires exposure of the head to non-mahram man. A female would have to expose her head to a non-mahram man. Okay. This does not entail a male. A man can get hair transplant. There's no harm in him exposing his head to a male or a female. Also, you may see the same gender. A male can refer to a male, a female can refer to a female. In cases of hardship, again, there could be a marriage contract between the doctor and the patient. Although this is probably not acceptable, here in the US, or it might be considered definitely unacceptable or illegal, but this is one way of solving the problem of exposing a female's head to a male doctor. Or in the cases of difficulty, extreme difficulty and hardship, it may be permissible. Again, ما جعل عليكم في الدين من حرج. What about wudu and ghusl? For the brothers or sisters who have hair transplants, does this affect their wudu or their ghusl? We have to see. If this is a hair transplant, meaning they took from your hair and they transplanted to the top, for example, and the hair grows, it grows, then this is your hair, it's fine. You can perform wudu and you may perform ghusl. If the hair does not grow, then this is problematic. If the hair does not grow after the transplant, according to Sayed Sistani and some other maraja', then wiping your head for wudu and for ghusl, this becomes problematic. And hence wigs, for the brothers or sisters that use wigs in of themselves, it's permissible, unless there's deception. Again, unless a husband is deceiving his wife, or a wife is deceiving her husband with a wig, that becomes a different story. That becomes deception. The problem is with what? Wudu and with ghusl. You cannot wipe over a wig. This is not your own hair. وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ. You have to wipe your own head. And wiping a wig is not wiping your head. And as for ghusl, ghusl has to reach your entire body, and with a wig it won't. So if you can remove it, that's fine. But some wigs are unremovable. You cannot remove it, or if it's removed with extreme difficulty. Here Sayyid Sistani is asked that can a person perform tayammum instead of wudu? Tayammum. Sayyid Sistani says performing tayammum once or twice is fine, but performing tayammum for the rest of your life, this is problematic. Not allowing yourself to perform wudu till the rest of your life, this is problematic. Tayammum is meant to be a temporary solution when you cannot perform wudu. Not that it becomes the norm. Performing tayammum becomes the norm. طيب. Another very important procedure that applies to our dear sisters is permanent eyelash extensions. These have become very popular, and some of the sisters, they put permanent. Sometimes they're temporary. This is not a problem. You remove the eyelash extensions, and that's it. But permanent eyelash extensions, are these allowed or not allowed? There's two problems with eyelash extensions, permanent eyelash extensions. Number one, this is zina. This is zina. This is a type of adornment. This is beautification. The same way that you cannot put mascara and, for example, lipstick, and you go out in front of men. Eyelash extensions are the same. This is beautification. Yes, you go out in front of women, there's no problem. In front of your mahram, this is no problem. In front of your husband, your father, your brother, there's no problem. But if you're going out in front of non-mahram men, this is a problem, because this is zina. This is a type of beautification and adornment. This is one. Number two, it affects your what? Extensions. Your wudu and your ghusl. Because when your wudu and ghusl, water has to reach your entire face. With eyelash extensions, permanent eyelash extensions, water will not reach your actual eyelashes. Not in wudu and not in ghusl. Here your ibadah becomes problematic. Your wudu and ghusl becomes problematic. Yes, as Sayyid Sistani here, he makes an exception. He says if removing permanent eyelash extensions is extremely difficult, here this female may not perform wudu and she may perform tayammum. She may perform tayammum. طيب. What about a cosmetic surgeon? And as we try to wrap up our discussion, is it permissible, and maybe this is a question that some of our youth ask, are you allowed to become a doctor or a surgeon that performs cosmetic procedures, maybe for non-mahram women, Or if you're a female and you perform cosmetic surgeries for men, is this permissible or not? As a primary rule, it is haram to look at the opposite gender. You can only look at a woman's face and hands. Other than that, you're not allowed to look. Yes, for a female, she may look at a man. She may look at a man's body, except obviously the private area. Other than that, this is haram. This is the primary law. This is the primary rule. And touching is also not allowed. Yes, as a secondary rule, if there's a necessity, if there's an emergency, you may. So for example, you're an emergency doctor, and a female comes and she's going into labor, and you're the only doctor there. There's no female doctor. Here there's a necessity. There's an emergency. Obviously, it's not your emergency. It's not your necessity. It's her emergency. It's her necessity. But because the Sharia allows her to expose herself in cases of necessity and emergency, here you may treat her. Otherwise, how would Islam allow her to expose herself, but a doctor must cover? He cannot see. That's not logical. Since Islam says in cases of necessity and emergency, she may expose, the doctor may look. But in cases of cosmetic surgery, there is no necessity. There is no emergency. For cosmetic surgeries, this is no necessity or emergency. Yes, if there was a necessity, if there was difficulty, again, مَا جَعَلَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ مِنْ حَرَجٍ. For example, a woman is losing her hair. And for example, she won't get married. Or there's a fear that her husband will marry another wife, for example. This becomes too difficult to bear. It's not an emergency, but it becomes too difficult to bear. Here she may expose her head to a non-mahram male. I hope I have not confused you too much tonight. You see, my dear friends, as we wrap up, people, they perform cosmetic surgeries to look younger and to look more beautiful. Although every human being is beautiful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created all human beings beautiful. Some are more beautiful than the other. But every human being, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given beauty to everyone. Maybe you don't think so. Maybe you might not think this person is beautiful, but someone else does. And they say that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Someone who you think is beautiful, someone else might not think they're beautiful. Or vice versa. So some cosmetic surgeries are meant to make you look more beautiful and make you look young. Some cosmetic surgeries, they're not done for beauty, to make you look younger or beautiful, no, but to hide scars and to hide burns. But there are some scars and there are some burns that cannot be hidden. There are some scars that are deeply rooted. There are some burns that are deeply rooted. If they are severe, they are deeply rooted. You might be a doctor. Someone comes with a broken bone, you can treat them. Maybe they have 2 broken bones, you can treat them. But what if someone has all of their bones broken? How can you treat them? A person who has broken all of his bones. Some people, we mentioned in the lecture, some people are unrecognizable after a cosmetic surgery. You see, this person is new. This person has become 20 years younger. They're more beautiful. They become unrecognizable because of the procedure. And there are some individuals, due to a tragedy, they become unrecognizable. They become 20 years older. If a cosmetic surgery makes you 20 years younger, a tragedy can make you 20 years older, unrecognizable. Even your family members will not recognize. As Sayyidah Zainab salamullahi alayha, when she arrived to Medina, and her husband, Abdullah bin Ja'far, her cousin, her first cousin, and her husband, when he saw her, he did not recognize her. He did not recognize her. She came and she said salam to him. He put his head down. He lowered his gaze. He thought that this is a non-mahram woman. She told him, Ya Abdullah, I am Zainab. I am Zainab, I am your wife. He did not recognize her because the tragedies upon her, they made her unrecognizable. They could not be recognized. One broken bone could be fixed. Two broken bones can be fixed. Fractured ribs could be fixed. But if all of your ribs are broken, how can you fix them? There's no way of fixing all of your bones. Here, Sayed Hossein al-Hilli, in his poem regarding the day of Ashura and Imam Hassan A.S, he says, أَتَرَى تَجِيءُ فَجِيعَةٌ بِأَمَضَّ مِنْ تِلْكَ الْفَجِيعَةِ. Do you think that a tragedy can come worse than the tragedy of Ashura? Why, Ya Sayyid Haydar? حَيْثُ الْحُسَيْنُ عَلَى الثَّرَى خَيْلُ الْعِدَى طَحَنَتْ ضُلُوعَهُ. As for Hussein, on the battleground, his enemies turned his ribs into powder. The ribs of Imam Hussein were all broken, all shattered, all turned into ribs. You know, on the day of Ashura and on the night of Ashura, you usually recite the tragedy of Imam Hussein, where after his death, after his martyrdom, Umar bin Sa'd asked for 10 volunteers to get on their horses and trample the chest of Imam Hussein with the hooves of their horses. This is what we all know. I've heard from some ulama that the chest of Imam Hussein was trampled twice. Once after his death, and another time while he was still alive, when his eyes were still open. Moments before his death, the enemy soldiers got on their horses and they stepped on the chest of Imam Hussein, breaking every single rib in his rib cage. Tonight, my dear brothers and sisters, as we conclude our majlis, I want to take you to Sham, as we still remember the tragedies of Sham, to a small khariba to remember the daughter of Imam Hussein, salamullahi alayhi. When Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam, it was her tradition that she would be the last to sleep and the first to wake up. She would be the first to wake and the last to sleep. She would go from woman to woman, from daughter to daughter, from girl to girl, putting them all to sleep. And one night in Kharibat al-Sham, when they were in that dump in Sham, she put everyone to sleep. She came to put her head to sleep. All of a sudden she heard a 3-year-old Ruqayya wake up and start shouting, Amma, Amma, my father was here. I just saw my father. Zainab comes to her, Ruqayya, go back to sleep. Let your aunt sleep. Let us sleep. We haven't gotten any rest. Ruqayya, go back to sleep. She said, no, I just saw him. I just saw him and he told me that I'm taking you with me. Get up, this is no time to sleep. This is no time to sleep. As soon as Ruqayya gets up and she starts wailing and crying, all of the women, they get up from their sleep. And they start shouting and crying and wailing. News reaches Yazid in his palace as he was getting drunk, as he was drinking alcohol. He says, what is the commotion that I hear? They tell him, إحدى يتام الحسين استيقظت من النوم. One of the orphans of Hussein has gotten up in the middle of the night and she saw her father in her dream. She's asking for her father. He said, لا بأس احملوا إليها رأس أبيها. Then she wants the head of her father, then if she wants to see her father, then take the head of her father to her. جابوا وشافتهم من بعيد وصاحت هلا براسك يا العميد يا هلال عزنا بليلة العيد ليش قطعت بينا يا صنديد وعفتنا ويا ناس مش جاويد. They brought that lid, they brought the head of Imam Hussein in a bin in front of Ruqayya. She said, I asked for my father, I did not ask for any food. They tell her, what you asked for is in this dish. She lifts the lid and she sees the head of her father. أبا أبا من الذي قطع الرأس الشريف من الذي خضب الشيب العفيف من الذي أيتمني على صغر سني. Oh, my father, who dared to drench your beard in your blood, who dared to sever your head from your body, who dared to make me an orphan. She kept on saying, Abba, 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 until she went silent. Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam looks at his aunt Zainab and he says, Amma Zainab, irfa'i at-tifla min ala ra'si abi. Lift the child from the head of my father. When they lifted her, they saw that Ruqayya had passed away. Imam Hussein had taken her and gone. خويا أنا بعيني لباري لك عيالك أنا بروحي لسجت لك أطفالك هاي تصيح عمه وين عمي وذيك تصيح فارقني ابن أمي هذه يتاماكم تلوذ ببعضها ولكم نساء تلتجي بنسائي. نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العلي الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا الله. اللهم لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا عيبا إلا سترته ولا خوفا إلا آمنته ولا رزقا إلا بسطته ولا شملا إلا جمعته ولا مرضا إلا شفيته ولا غائبا إلا حفظته وأدنيته ولا حاجة من حوائج الدنيا والآخرة لك فيها رضا ولنا فيها صلاح إلا قضيتها ويسرتها يا أرحم الراحمين. ولأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات والعلماء والشهداء نقرأ سورة الفاتحة مع الصلوات.